Hi everyone, happy Halloween! Hence this, which is not just my go-to day-to-day makeup look, in case anyone was wondering. I know I'm often just wearing like pajamas when I stream, but yeah, no, this is not my going out look. So, a little preface to this video. I recorded the entire thing, and then I got to the end, and I uploaded it to my video editing software, and I realized that for the entirety of that video, my voice got recorded sounding like this. Yeah, so that was clearly not ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that audio file, and I'm going to talk over it instead, which I'm not sure if that's going to be at all awkward, but I will do my best to keep it fluid. You're going to have my original reactions in the corner, which means that the dialogue in my mouth are not going to line up for the entire thing, which is a little unfortunate, but you live, you learn. I'm still a bit new to all of this, and yeah. So let's dive into it, and I hope you enjoy. So this one picks up where we left off, with Allyson inside the secret base, having just passed out after inhaling the spores. There's a bit of a glitch because I closed and reloaded the game where she's still standing for a second, but that's fixed a moment afterwards. The bloom begins. Leaving the secret lab, you can't help but notice the sky has shifted to an eerie color. Something has changed in StrangerVille, and not for the better. Opening that lab door must have released some kind of toxin into the air. You will need to find a way to protect yourself from the toxic spores in the secret lab. Try talking to people around town to see if they know anything that might help. Yeah, so she passes out again, because like I said, there's a weird glitchy thing. Then reemerges, being very much not okay. And as you can see, I was a bit like, oh no, what has happened to my poor Sim? But also I was kind of laughing because, you know, we're not that worried about her. Might be worried about me after that face, but so I sent her home for the next step. At that point I was just kind of like, there's a time countdown on how long she's being possessed, and I was like, oh no, is something bad going to happen when that time down's up, or is she just going to be okay again? And I really wasn't sure at that point. So I got her back home, and I was trying to figure out how to get the spores, because it says collect 15 spores. So I go and I like look at the actual plants. I'm like, oh, can you collect them from the plant? I was like, okay, well, I can take the picture at least, so I can have her go do that. I could have her taunt it. Doesn't seem like the correct way to get spores, but it at least seemed entertaining. So I decided to have her give that a try too. So she takes the picture, she kicks it, which is really not a traditional taunt, and then she sneezes out spore dust, and I was like, oh, that also seems not good. Like, I wonder if you kick them enough if you could get your character infected again. I didn't try, though. That will just be a mystery for future us. So we go over here, figure it's probably good to get some more information. We go to question them about the spores in the lab. I have a couple of those hazmat suits in my secret inventory. I doubt they'll do much good without a spore filter, but I'd be willing to sell it to you if you're still interested. So, like, you know, of course we're interested. That seems legit. And we realized they cost $1,000. So when we sold it, it was like, good, $5 to our name. We're in great shape. Enjoy your brand new, incomplete hazmat suit. I told you it was missing a crucial component. You might want to question scientists about spores. They might be able to provide some kind of spore filter. So I was like, ooh. Scientists. Well, we know Emmett. Emmett is a scientist, so I figure it's about time to hit Emmett up again. I think at that point I was back onto the romance track, and I was like, well, maybe we can ask Emmett on a date. That could be fun. I also realized that she's been running around in some very, not protective clothing, which admittedly she's getting a hazmat suit, but the idea of like trying to go into these like crazy sport areas wearing like shorts and a t-shirt just seems ridiculous to me. So I tried to find her like something that looked more protective, which admittedly this is her hot weather clothes, so like, you know. I got excited when I saw the Halloween things because it's Halloween here, but again, while it could definitely work with like the crazy infected vibe, the Halloween clothes aren't necessarily ideal for sneaking in. Though the raccoon suit, like no one would know it's you, so it is subtle, by some definitions of subtle. But I found this one, which is, I think, a season's weather one. But it definitely looks protective and waterproof and like the kind of thing you'd want to be wearing if you knew you were going around spores. So I figure she also needs like a face mask of some kind. But yeah, I thought that the gas mask looked like a little bit too legit. Like, she's going to be getting a hazmat suit. So having like a faux gas mask. Oh, maybe they aren't gas masks. I guess those are like the breathing apparatuses from the diving game. But still, like, it's a breathing apparatus. So I didn't want anything quite that legit because I figured she doesn't have those resources available to her until she can assemble the hazmat suit. But then I saw this ridiculous mask and I was like, oh my god, that would be hilarious. I would enjoy that so much with her like sneaking in wearing this ridiculous robot masky thing. But then I kind of thought about it and I was like, oh no, but then we wouldn't be able to see the crazy eyes if she gets infected again. And that's like such a token aspect of this pack that if she's getting infected again, we want to be able to witness it. So I ended up like not opting with that, even though I was sorely tempted. I also remembered for once that I wanted to put her in tattoos. So I looked through and I was like hoping to find something that was kind of like alien-y or whatever. I found these and realized they came in purple and there's all these like purple spores everywhere, and so it seemed like kind of like the right motif. I wasn't totally sure about it, but she had just been infected, so the idea of like it left some sort of like skin rash or mark on her afterwards to show that she was like a sim that had been infected. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. The other change, which like is not visibly here, that I made was I decided that it would be kind of cool, since she does seem to have a bit of a preference for women, if one of the other effects of the spores was like, oh, she's now able to get other sims pregnant, because I do want to get another sim for when University comes out that I can use for the Let's Plays. So just so you guys know, if that happens, the spores may have changed her. Or I might have changed her. Things happen. So I recall Emmett over, tried to, you know, chat with him a little bit. Then I realized this like thing is growing out of the sink, and I was like, oh, that doesn't seem ideal. It's probably not what we want. So she greets Emmett, and Emmett's like furious, and I was like, why is Emmett so upset? And then I realized he's like a scientist, and he's the one who gave us the key card for the lab, so from his perspective, he's like, be careful, and we're like, yeah, no problem, and then we just like release the spores everywhere, and now they're growing out of sinks. I'm like, well, yeah, I'd be kind of mad about that too, that's fair. So we're trying to like patch that up, get him in a better mood. Knowing me, I was probably hoping that we'd be able to flirt with him at some point. What is going on here? These plants are getting out of control. From plants in plumbing. But yeah, I try having them talk and get to a better place. He replies, with all these spores in the air, a breathing filter would be useful. I could create one if I had infection profile data from analyzing spore clusters at the lab. So I was like, seems interesting. Seems worth investigating. But yeah, I'm mostly just trying to get him to like not be mad for a while. Which I'm deeply unsuccessful at. She's apparently a very infuriating person to be around. There's also more people that are clearly infected wandering around. So I figure this conversation's not going well. We may as well just get into like questioning him about the spores in lab. Okay, so he says, I have the materials to craft a spore filter, but I've not been able to analyze enough spore clusters. Use the chemical analyzer at the secret lab to construct the infection profile data. Bring it to me and I can construct a spore filter. And then I'm trying to figure out like how to get spores, because I still have no idea how to do that. So I hover over this and read it. 'Cause I'm like, well, maybe it will actually tell me, because that's happened a number of times in this game where I have no idea how to do something, and then after the fact, I realize that it just tells me if I looked at the aspiration. So what we have here is collect 15 spore clusters. Find an infection scanner by questioning military personnel at the local bar. Once you have one in your inventory, scan the ground to reveal spore clusters. So I'm like, great, let's go there. I invite Leslie to come along with us because we've been having some success with her, so I figure, you know, that's something at least. I was like, you know what, why don't we just like discuss the latest games, have a nice little conversation with her, maybe a little flirt, and then like immediately we're getting like negative hearts. Every time her social interactions go awry, we just go, call it quits for today. We could try socializing again later. It's worked for her. She's got a few friends. It does not seem like an enjoyable way to live your life, but gotta live it how you gotta live it. You know what? If things aren't going well with Leslie anyway, if we're not really gonna be friends, we may as well get that money for the blackmailing. As you can see, Leslie like was not super into that, but she gave us $130, which was really solid because we're pretty broke. So we see as military personnel, we can talk to military personnel. So we start, trying to talk to her. We just do kind of like the normal interactions, the whatevers, the brightened days, the fitness techniques, because I figure that seems like a common interest they would have. Get to know. It's like basically just like all the standard social stuff. And we do this for a bit. And what starts happening is their relationship arc just keeps going up and up and up. And I don't even need to rely on cloud or stargazing. Like, they just seem to genuinely enjoy talking to each other, which is crazy to me because I don't know what it is about Allyson, but she is one of like the least easy to get along with Sims I've ever made because people just don't enjoy talking to her. But this Sim does. Move along, citizen. I need to use my infection scanner to find spore clusters so we can analyze them at the lab. Super close. Almost there. Okay, push-ups. Come back here and be my friend. But look at this conversation. It is literally the only time she's talked to someone for this long without them disliking her. Ooh, success! I just got this new infection scanner. It's really cool. That's classified information. But if you can convince me, maybe I can give you one. I think I jokingly say, can I do it by flirting? And then seduce for infection scanner is there. And I was like, oh yeah, getting on the flirting train. So I decided to flirt with her a fair amount beforehand. I panicked a moment there because I thought she was leaving, but we managed to pull it together. I figured to make sure she doesn't leave, we ask her on a date, be safe. And she says yes. The most successful interactions Allyson has been having with anyone so far. We don't have a romance bar yet. I see that there's someone else in the conversation, and I like freak out because I'm like, no, you may not be part of this conversation. You're going to ruin the romantic vibes. Also, my video is doing something weird here. I don't really know why it's doing that. I'm sorry. I don't have any control over that. It was just a problematic time all around. It's okay. When I move it back up to the upper corner later, it won't be doing that weird flashing thing. I'm very sorry that it's doing that. It's just like, throw in a little flirt. Suggestive conversation. No romance bar, but suggestive. Compliment appearance. Yes, romance bar. We did it. I'm also trying to do the date stuff in the upper left corner. So sit and talk to your date. Bold pickup line now that we're confident. But basically, I just kind of keep going in with all of the socials, and they keep succeeding, which is a miracle because we all know how Allyson goes. Like, it'll go fine, and she'll get like the romance bar up this teeny tiny little fraction, and then people aren't into it. So I ever do her first kiss. And it succeeds, and I'm so, so excited. Because I was honestly starting to doubt if Allyson was ever going to get to have her first kiss. So we try the seduce option. Let's see if we can get this scanner. Bam, look at that. Wow, that was amazing. I really should not be doing this, but take this infection scanner. Which seems like a really weird reward for like being flirty, but that's fine. It's working. So at this point, like the date's still going on. I've got the scanner, but I'm just riding the high of this working. I get really annoyed here because there is no like give your date a massage option that's coming up. At least not that I saw. Which meant this date was like doomed to be forever at Silver. Because trying to get them to playful from this like this place in the mood, like look at how flirty that is. That would be doable, but a lot. So whatever, that's fine. I figure at that point I can just play with her whims, try and get her some more points. She had the whim to flirt with somebody, so I let her flirt. Sent a flirty text. No, that's not happening. We're in the middle of like a date. Asked someone to go steady, so I was like, sure, you know what? You want her to be your girlfriend? She can be your girlfriend. And then I felt a little bit bad because she had a want to like chat with Leslie, and I'm like, maybe she just wants to gossip about her cool date, but also I was like, oh, are you still hung up on Leslie? Tell a dirty joke, that's fine. Childish. So that means that Lorraine is hot-headed and childish, but apparently also absolutely perfect for Allyson. So who really cares how bad her traits are if they're a good match for each other? Because, you just got to have that chemistry, that like ease of conversation, that ease of flirting. Look how high these bars are. Honestly, like, Allyson is nowhere close to this with anyone else. So she hasn't wanted to woohoo, but I really can't do anything about that here. There's not like a woohoo location on this lot. I do a quick scroll around to double check, but really there's not an option for that. Which if there were, it would have come up before then. And I think you can switch lots in the middle of the day, but I just didn't want to risk it because it was going so well. It was also only worth 50 points. I wasn't too worried about it. So I clear it out, clear the one about Leslie out, don't need to do any more texting, and then get engaged to Lorraine. And I was like, oh my gosh, do you really want to get engaged? And I was like, well, you know what? Go for it. This is the best you have ever done at romance. I will give you this if this is what you want. And there she goes. And then it worked. Which is a miracle because, again, Allyson, we have seen her track record. Oh, I look at them. She's so happy. She's also very strong. Because that's like a high-ranking military woman. That, like, Lorraine is probably like solid muscle. Hey, I heard you became friends. More than friends, we're engaged. Compliment someone, sure, we can compliment her. It's also hilarious to me that this is just a silver date. Oh, you know, we met, I got the information scanner, we got engaged, you know, but it was okay. It was silver. Not like the best date. It was alright. Although I guess having tentacles coming out of the toilet might have marred it a little bit. That just seems unpleasant. So after this long date, I send her home. That's a lot of needs that she has to deal with. So yeah, I go through, I get her needs back into a decent place. We get a bunch of calls from different people congratulating us on our engagement, which is pretty cute. It's also kind of like a weird mix of people being like, congrats on making a friend, and people being like, congrats, you got engaged. Which, I don't know how you want to read into that, but it's true. It's how it goes. So now that we're home, I figure it's time to finally give her that woohoo that she was wanting on her date. I guess I could have just had her wait for marriage, but I figure waiting for engagement, close enough. She's gone through a lot to get to this point. It's also our first time seeing Lorraine in her normal clothes, which look like fabulous on her. The high contrast with her like intense hair color and the intense clothing color, and the sharp contrast with her skin is just gorgeous. So there they go. Their first woohoo in a closet because we can't afford a double bed. But, you know, whatever, that's fine. There's some unpleasant vine situations going on there. But whatever. It's alright. Not gonna spoil her big day. How important are weird alien plant vines growing out of your sink when you got engaged? So have her make a salad. Take care of her needs a bit. This is also the first successful salad she's ever made. The first successful meal she's ever made. She's never had food be normal quality before. At this point, I started having her try to use the scanner. There's nothing over there. I figure maybe if I have her like scan closer to a plant, it'll do better. So she goes and she scans, but nothing happens. But there's clearly like spores everywhere. So I read the scanner. The infection scanner can be used to reveal spore clusters by clicking and scanning the ground. Try scanning areas with a high concentration of spores. I'm like, great, but I feel like there's already a high concentration of spores. Why isn't this working? And so I try another area. Still nothing happens. Frankly, I do this for a while before finally giving up and going to the secret lab. because I figure, you know, that's where the source of the breakout is, so it's bound to have more spores. I was like, oh, look, there's a bunch of spores here. Let's scan here. But then I remembered that this is just like the animation that happens when you open the door the first time, so it doesn't, yeah, doesn't actually do anything. So I was like, ooh, okay, she can go like scan in this area. I'm like, maybe she does it like right in the doorway, she won't pass out. That was an incorrect thought. The mother calls and I must answer. Yeah, she doesn't do like super well, but she also has the safe and secure, like I'd seen before, where like she just really enjoys being in the tunnels. These spores are too toxic to pass without protection. Question about spores around town to see if there's some way to protect yourself, which, I mean, we've already been questioning about around town a bit. We just need to figure out how to get the dang spores so that we can make progress on this. So I waited out. She's no longer under the mother's influence. So we come up here and I figure, all right, let's give it another try. Then I realized that we also have bills due, which is a shame because we only have $123. I'm also trying to save battery power by turning it off as soon as the spores show up, but that doesn't really necessarily seem to be helping that much. So I'm like scooting around trying to see where the spores are the most dense, but I figure whatever, as long as I'm near a plant, it should be okay. Which maybe there's a better way of doing that, but that was mostly what I was doing. And it worked. I was usually getting on average 2 per scan. The problem was that I needed to wait for the scanner to recharge after every few scans, so she ended up doing like a lot of jogging and push-ups and like reading random books in the lab to kill time until she finally got all of the spores she needed, because she needed 15 of them. And with the charging, that took a while, but luckily she was at pretty full need, so we were able to just kind of hang out at the secret lab till it was done. I also had her collect slide samples of all the different plants just because why not? You're here, may as well. Tried to see if you could do anything with them in the secret lab, but you could not, so yeah. Uneventful turn of events. And then I get there, I scan, it is the last 2. We put them in our inventory and we are good to go. I also decided that like I might actually want to spend some perk points for her, but then I kind of look through them and I'm like, I think not having bills or reduced bills or whatever that one is what I want the most. And she was like just a hair away from it. So, meh. So with that figured out, we head home and invite our lovely fiance over. I think I invited her over actually because I wanted to get the, you know, I'd gotten like that whole like dossier compiled or whatever, or I'd got all the spore samples. And so I was like, well, I've got all these spore samples, so Lorraine can help me. And then I realized, no, you need the military professional to get the scanner, but you want a scientist to get the next part. So I had to invite Emmett over. So Emmett comes over, and I try to ask him to craft the spore filter. Requires infection profile data. This can be discovered up on the chemical analyzer at the secret lab. So I kicked myself and realized I need to go back to the secret lab. So we do. We also change into our nice, like, appropriate lab clothing this time. And then we do the spore analysis. And just, like, seeing her so happy down here. I really, really, really do want to get her her bunker. But yeah, the machine's cool, has nice little sciencey effects. I don't think it's anything super special compared to like Get to Work and all the other ones, but it's got nice little laser beam effects, so whatever. It does what it does. Alright, so she travels home with Emmett to make it easier. Okay, first dialogue. Allyson's diligent analysis of the collected spore cluster has paid off. Take this infection profile data to a StrangerVille scientist to see if they have any helpful information. And Emmett says, wow, you did it. Let me analyze this infection profile data, and I will send you a spore filter in the mail soon. Keep digging, and you might find a vaccine for this infection after all. So now we have time to kill while we wait. So in addition to taking care of her needs during this time, I also reapplied her for the military career, because one thing I hadn't realized last time was that the military career gave you the option of working from home, so I didn't actually need to send her there the entire time. Like, keep sending her into the office when she was super drained. I could have just had her work from home. which would have made it way easier to solve the mystery and keep playing and make money, but whatever. You learn. Also notice this guy Dalton, who looks like super Secret Service, CIA kind of guy. And then her little paranoid thing pops up right after I said that. And I was like, oh, well, I would be paranoid too. He looks suspicious. So I try and find all like the odd jobs and stuff, but it's too late in the day to be able to get them anymore. So I just focus on needs until the next day. I also decided to change her lot to off the grid because that kind of made sense with her personality. I then go and like check a bunch of the appliances to make sure that they actually work off the grid. I'm trying to replace her fridge with an off the grid fridge, but there aren't any that say they work off the grid, so I figured I'd just leave it for the time being and hope for the best. So I go and I delete some things or put them in her inventory or whatever if she can't use them well on her off the grid lot. I also try and figure out how much like the stupid stairs are going to cost, and the answer is too much. I will tell you that. The stairs and the room. I have to have her travel to the bar to be able to pick up the odd job because that's how things go when you live on an off-the-grid lot. So I debate over the different options for a bit. I'm kind of annoyed because pretty much all of them are very, very beach themed, which makes sense because they came with Island Adventure, but I think it'd be cool to be able to do odd jobs anywhere, whether that is like a mix of locations that you can go to or whether that is you having odd jobs that are specialized to whatever location you're in, but I don't know. The need to go to Salani, is that what it's called? Every time to do a job just sort of seemed whatever. So I was trying to figure out which one seemed the most realistic, but frankly none of them really did. So there's one for her to just like pick up food for someone, and that one seemed like the most realistic, so that's what I went with. She leaves and does that. She gets back. Allyson grabbed the order and a few packets of ketchup. It wasn't nearly enough for Raj, but because Allyson did fulfill the order, she was paid and Raj left a nice review. Outcomes $36 and a $1 tip. Which, like, isn't anything to write home about, but it's something. So I try and figure out if she can do more than one job in a day, and I have to go back to the bar because it auto dumps you back in her house afterwards. So I pick one up, we go to Simsalani to try and deal with it. And once we get there, it turns out that there's some sort of bug with it where it wasn't actually letting her do the mischief. Like, I mean, she was doing the mischief, but none of her mischief interactions were counting. So it was do mischief interactions and destroy sandcastles. So we tried doing both. And to be fair, it wasn't the word destroy, it was the word monster stump. So I wasn't sure if that would work. But I was doing the mischief interactions, so I don't know. I gave up. I tried doing a different one where it was like, catch frogs in the waterfall. So we went to go catch frogs in the waterfall. We caught one. Yay, very exciting. We found a sunflower frog. And it didn't count. So at that point, I just kind of like gave up and went back home and figured whatever, the odd jobs weren't the right way of making money for her. At least not in this Let's Play. So get her needs back up so she can have a good first day at work. Because I very much forgot about the fact that she was able to work from home. I also forgot about the fact that the fighting bot thingy doesn't work from home either. But I figure have her make a few wooden sculptures, see if we can't sell a few of those, try and diversify our income a little bit. And by that I mean get an income. Naturally, the Land Grab Power Association has shut off our power, which seemed kind of weird because we were already off the grid, but whatever. I guess you can't just go off the grid to get out of paying bills. I mean, you can because their threat doesn't do anything. So we decided to take Lorraine with us to the gym. I go to the fancy celebrity gym because I figure if there's going to be a gym that actually has a full-on like sparring machine in it, it's going to be the celebrity gym. I really don't understand why this world didn't come with a gym because the military career is so big. And they were like, oh, run on a treadmill, do the sparring stuff, and like forcing your sim to purchase that item for themselves seems a little bit, I don't know, I mean, it's fine, but I feel like there should have been a gym in this world, because given that like a third of the population is military, you would think there would be one. So we add it in, we give it a little rug so it matches everything else. I try and have them spar, and I have like some weird issues where like, I was trying to do spar together and they keep not doing that. She eventually does get to practice her sparring and it counts, and all is well. I figure I have her work out a little bit more while she's there because there's not like too much else to do with her work day. Also let her actually have a warm shower because she does not have hot water at home on her off-the-grid lot. I have her go for like another little jog because I figured the fitness scale is going to be good for work, and then I noticed that one of the plants has fruit on it, and I was like, ooh. So I harvested one of those. I don't know that I necessarily should have, but I don't know. I did. Seemed cool. Seemed like a good idea at the time. We also got the filter in the mail, so we now have the hazmat suit that we can wear, and then I get excited about how cool it looks. It's like not like cool, but like cool for the vibe and motif of the world cool. Also from certain angles it looks very Pac-Man-y, but I'm also okay with that. Pac-Man's cool. So we go to the secret lab, we use our key card to get in, we're wearing our awesome suit. And we walk into the mist. Successfully this time. Also try scanning in there because I'm like, there's got to be a bunch. And like there are, but it's still 4, which isn't like crazy more than everywhere else, which I find kind of funny. Oh, there's 5. Okay, it's fine. I guess there are a lot more, but that's like super after the fact. And I was like, oh, maybe I can sell them, but they're worth 0, so I guess I can't. We scan, the door hitches for a moment, it opens, and more spores release. And then I realized she's tired, and I was like, oh no, is that an effect of the spores? And I was like, no, I just was not paying attention to her needs before we got here. I'm like trying to keep the camera kind of close-ish to her so we can experience together. But I also need to scroll forward so I can like go here so she actually moves. And at that point, I just give up on it and I start looking around. And honestly, like the whole thing is seriously cool. Like this is me just kind of noting it's like all the different kinds and stages of plant growth in there, the vines on the wall, the like little like plant frond here set up with like electric nodes on it, the cracked screens of the abandoned lab, even like the weird creepy puddles. I was just like, they did so well. Like props to you, Sims team. You did really cool on the ambiance of this pack. And then I was making fun of her because I'm like, oh yeah, nothing's safe and secure like being in this weird abandoned lab with all the leaks and the weird vines everywhere. This is fine, super safe and secure. So we open it and then I see the mother. And we get our complete milestone. I realize that we're now on to needing to vaccinate 3 Sims, recruit 3 Sims to help stop the source of the infection. Check the little notebook. Create the vaccine, defeat the mother. So that's giving us a clear direction for where we're heading next. But look at the mother. So I figure, you know, like attempt to communicate, right? Like what can go wrong? And I was like looking at the other doors. I'm like, ooh, can we go through these? But I think they're just sort of there for ambiance to like give the impression that it's a larger lab than it is. So I'm trying to get like some neat camera angles of her and the mother. And it's neat and it's cinematic. And then like it lunges forward in a really cool way, but I can't actually see what happens. And then like the conversation is like still just going for a long time and she's just sort of there chatting with it. And I was like, are you just telling it about your day, about like your engagement and your whirlwind romance and you're just like boring it to drool? I don't know. And then at some point I realized that she had stopped talking to it and I had just left that running a little too long. So I just had to try it again from another angle and see if I can't like actually get the cool thing. I just don't think she's strong enough to attempt to fight. Like we can attempt to fight it later, but I don't know if that'll work. But just like look at this with its like crazy face and its spittle flying everywhere. Like also that she was just thinking about a tank there cracked me up because it's like, it's pretty problematic. Maybe it'd go better if I had a tank. Which she's not wrong. Anyway, this is where I decided to leave it off. I figure we've made a ton of progress. We reached the next milestone and we have 1 milestone left, which implies that we've got 1 part left. Thank you all for watching and for bearing with me through the technical difficulties. I hope you had fun with that episode. I certainly did, and I hope that that carried over even through the voice mishap. But Anyway, if you enjoyed that, please subscribe. There'll be more videos coming out. There's university expansions coming soon. I'm definitely going to be playing Planet Zoo, which is coming out even sooner than University. A lot of great things. Would love to have you guys there for it. Please like, subscribe, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!